Again, it is nice to see you today. This is the third reader mail video that we're doing. I missed last Friday because I was actually camping. In addition to being a writer, I'm also a scoutmaster, and for some foolish reason, the boys wanted to go on a winter camp, so that's what we did. It wasn't snowy, but it was supernaturally cold, and it was delightful. Anyway, I wanted to answer another big question today that a lot of you are going to be very excited about. The last couple of questions have both focused heavily on the partial series. This one starts about the partial series, but it will eventually turn into a lot of other stuff. So there's a lot of questions wrapped up in this one today, and we're going to start with our representative email. This is from Kristen. She says, hello, my name is Kristen, blah, blah, blah. We're going to skip through the first introductory part and get to the big one. If someone asked to make partials into a movie, would you let them? If so, who would you imagine playing Kira? Okay, lots of people ask about movies. There's a lot of young adult books that are being made into movies. Hunger Games and Divergent and Maze Runner and all these other big things. They're all over the place. So as regards to the first question, if someone wanted to make my book into a movie, would I let them? Well, it depends, I guess, on who they are. The short answer is yes, of course, provided that I thought they would do a good job. And so the good news is the partial series has been optioned as a movie, and my other series, my thriller series called I Am Not a Serial Killer, has also been optioned as a movie. Now, what an option is it's kind of like a movie studio or a producer licks your book and says, this is mine, no one else can have it. And so it's kind of like it's not really a movie contract, but it's the step before a movie contract. The studio has just said, I want to make this into a movie, maybe. So I will buy an option, and no one else, for the duration of that option, which is usually a couple of years, I, as the author, am not allowed to sell that the book movie rights to anyone else because I've promised them to this particular studio. And when that studio finally says, okay, yes, we're going to make the movie, then the movie happens. Or they say, okay, we've thought about this and we're not going to get it to work, then it's done. The option is over and I can sell the rights to somebody else. That is the state that both of my main series are in right now. So there is a possibility that we will see a movie of partials, but I don't know. I mean, I can't say anything beyond that. For every, I don't know the exact stats, but for every 100 books that get optioned, 1 or 2 of them will actually turn into a movie. So the possibility's there, but it's not a huge possibility. Anyway, the more money that you spend going to see stuff like Maze Runner and Divergent, the more likely it is that Hollywood will go, oh, hey, this is probably a good idea. So there you go. A rising tide lifts all ships. Anyway, as to the second part of the question, who would I imagine playing Kira? Boy, I do not know. Kind of in my head as I was writing Kira, I was kind of I watch a lot of Bollywood movies, and so there were a lot of actresses in the back of my head, but I don't know. Kira is Indian, so I would insist very loudly and vehemently to the studio that whoever they cast needs to be Indian, but I don't actually have any creative control. So if they went against that, then I would just yell at them on Twitter and who knows. But so beyond that, I don't know. The main cast of partials, they're all teens, and I don't know a ton of teen actors is the embarrassing part. So, while I've got various people in the back of my head, I couldn't tell you who I would cast. Another question that I get a lot, a surprising amount of time, is from people, usually teens, in fact almost always teens, who want to be in the movie. And they'll say, if you make this, can I be Kira, or can I be John Cleaver, or can I be whoever? I have no, I have even less control over who gets cast than I do over, what nationality they are. So if any of these books become movies, I am, essentially just a cheerful spectator to the process. I don't get to pick who gets cast. I don't get to pick who the director is. I don't get to pick any of this stuff. So we just cross our fingers and hope that whoever they do pick is good. If you are interested in being in movies in general, make sure that you are taking acting classes, that you have acting experience, that you go out. It is exceptionally rare. I mean, I think I think back to like the Harry Potter movies, and first of all, they were casting like 11-year-olds, whereas for my movie, they're going to be casting 16, 17-year-olds. But, I think they pulled Daniel Radcliffe out of nowhere. It might have been his first job ever. Same kind of thing with the other two. That sometimes happens, but it's super rare that it happens. And so, random person who is a fan of the book, I won't say it's impossible that you'll get cast in the movie, but unless you are an actor with acting experience, it's unlikely. So now, let's give the exciting news. And I want everyone to pay close attention to this. So we've been talking about partials. I'm wearing my partials shirt. But my other book series, I Am Not a Serial Killer, I am delighted to announce that movie is happening. Okay? There is a film option, just like for partials. But in the case of I'm Not a Serial Killer, they've had the option long enough. They've looked at the money and they've decided, okay, we're going to do this. And so we actually start filming that movie in February, next month. And it's going to be awesome. The director is named Billy O'Brien. And unless you are a hardcore fan of horror films, you probably never heard of him. He's done some really great stuff. His main big project that I know him for is called Isolation, and it is a horror film about this remote cattle farm in Ireland that you can find. It's not on Netflix streaming, but if you still have one of those old caveman Netflix get the disc in the mail accounts, you can pick it up that way. It's wonderful. The opening credits are scary, and so I'm excited. So he has it, and he's actually had that option for 4 or 5 years, and so he and I have become really good friends. He's stayed at my house. We've gone over all the different stuff about, how does the monster work in the story? How does all of this work? It's going to be great. Toby Froud, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, F-R-O-U-D. He is our art designer, our special effects designer. And you might know Toby from the movie The Labyrinth. His father, Brian Froud, was the art designer on that one. So if you've seen Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, you've seen Brian Froud's designs. And if you've seen Labyrinth, the little baby named Toby that gets kidnapped by David Bowie, that's him. He's grown up now, and he's an effects designer and an art designer, and he is doing all of the creature effects and stuff. So when the monster shows up in the movie, it will be this really cool creature that's been designed by Toby Froud. We have 2 amazing actors lined up for this. And, they have the contracts. They've said yes. The contracts are, in fact, signed. But the money actually hasn't moved from one bank to the other, which means that I still, at this point, am not allowed to tell you who they are. But John Cleaver and Mr. Crowley have both been cast, and they're awesome. And if you want to find out who those 2 actors are, pay close attention to my website and my Twitter feed. And if you live in or near Utah, try to come to FanX this weekend. FanX is called the Fan Experience, and it is run by it's Salt Lake Comic Con. They do a huge Comic Con in the summer, and then in the winter they do this thing called FanX, and it's almost as big as Comic Con. It's enormous. So they bring all these people in, and we are going to have a panel on Saturday, this Saturday, January 31st, with me and Billy and Toby and possibly a couple of other people, we'll see, who are involved with the movie, who are going to come to the panel, and we're going to talk all about it. We're going to tell you our vision for it. We're going to tell you how we ended up getting the movie put together and our plans for filming it and everything. So we sincerely hope that the money will have moved where it needs to move by this weekend so that we can tell you who the actors are. And that's going to be phenomenal. So anyway, that's the exciting news. Would I allow someone to make a movie out of my books? Absolutely. And one of those movies is happening next month. Probably, won't be in theaters and stuff until the following year in 2016. But there you go. Either way, it's an exciting thing. I'm really pumped about it. This has been a really long, this is almost 12 minutes, so I'm going to shut up, but you can tell I'm excited. Anyway, that's the news. Let's close with some really quick stuff. Some people have asked, how can they submit a question to me? My website is thedanwells.com, nice and humble. And down at the bottom of that page is my address, and you can contact me directly. My email is dan@thedanwells.com. So very easy to remember. And if you send those in, I don't always answer every single email. I try to. But I definitely read them all. And if it's a really good question, I will pop it right up here and we'll do it at a video in a future week. So thank you again. Thanks for reading the books. Thanks for listening. And watch soon for exciting new news about the I Am Not a Serial Killer movie. I'll talk to you later.